Bridgerton is taking a lot of creative liberties regarding the series and even the characters, and one of the new characters, Michaela Stirling, has a major role that's a lot more than you think. However, the end of Bridgerton 3 was a big twist in the show with the introduction of Michaela Stirling. Interestingly, only the fans of the Bridgerton books would have registered this surprise immediately, as casual fans of the TV series have little clue about who Michaela is. To understand Michaela, you should first know that her story is tied to Francesca, which is very obvious since she's the cousin to her husband, John Stirling, but their relationship goes far beyond being in-laws, as you will get to find out soon. Starting from when Francesca was insistent on marrying John Stirling, mostly because they understand each other perfectly, her mother Violet had been worried because she thought love was supposed to take someone out of their comfort zone. Later, though, she got around to appreciating the kind of gentle love shared between Francesca and John, but not without adding,
"You know, when I first met your father, I could barely speak my own name. I was so taken by him. I stumbled over words most familiar."
And you know what the most shocking thing is between that statement and the introduction of Michaela? Francesca was literally short of words after meeting Michaela, as she found it hard even to say her name, which perfectly matches the description of love her mother wanted for her. So Michaela is the future love match of Francesca, but there's definitely more about this character that's about to blow your mind. With the introduction of Michaela in the show and the love at first sight Francesca felt for her, she's still going to share something special with John in their marriage. However, according to the books, they had a fulfilling marriage where they lived in a castle as the Earl and Countess of Kilmartin, together with John's cousin, Michael. Instead of Michaela, as seen in the show, the origin of the character from the books was a man called Michael, and there's a whole lot about Michael that can also be found in Michaela despite the change in their genders. But for you to know exactly who Michaela is, a deeper knowledge of Michael, whom the character is based on, is very necessary, which we will reveal in this video. Unfortunately, something bad had to happen to John before Michael could step up in the book when he was wicked. Without much warning, John passed away from a brain issue called a ruptured cerebral aneurysm. It was so quick as he became deceased after lying down to recover from a headache. As soon as Francesca and Michael got back from their walk, John was already gone. So it was a lot of grief for both Francesca and Michael, and they got to bond even more over their shared sorrow. Later in the book, it's discovered that Michael has also always been attracted to Francesca, but finds it difficult to act even after John passes away. Eventually, they later got married and had one of the most passionate and descriptive spicy moments the Bridgerton franchise had ever witnessed. But now, in the show, Michael has become Michaela. From the books, Michael was introduced as the rakiest of rakes, which means he's a popular player, and Michaela is also not any different from this. As soon as she saw Francesca, she said, "Every sordid detail John has told you about me is a lie. The truth is far worse." Although that could mean many things, it also hints at the fact that Michaela is indeed a player who's very bold and expressive, unlike her cousin John. And Michaela isn't just going to be a love interest to Francesca, but also to show the parallel between their relationship and what Francesca shares with John. In John, Francesca finds a safe space, a companion, and a best friend who listens and makes her feel heard, which is a very heartfelt way to experience love. But on the other side of that is steamy, passionate, and groaning moments of bliss, which the past married Bridgerton siblings have found in their partners. However, Francesca doesn't share this with John, which is obvious from what we've seen so far. They are in love, but that hasn't connected with their physical relationship with each other, as their wedding kiss further supports their bed scenes might not be all fireworks. Interestingly enough, this passion to undress and explore each other's sensitive areas that seems to be lacking between John and Francesca is the additional advantage Michaela would be bringing into their marriage once John is no more. And from the ending of Bridgerton 3, it's obvious that Michaela would do a lot more than make Francesca lose her voice in their season. Although Francesca is a shy, introverted introverted character, Michaela would bring out her wayward and dangerous side, just like Michael did in the books. But then what makes the gender bending from Michael to Michaela more complicated is that Francesca's story wasn't only about grief, but also the pains of infertility. After losing John in the novel, she also had a miscarriage, which further pronounced her grief. She continued to battle with infertility, even with Michael, before eventually having babies. Many Bridgerton fans are aware by now that the famous family is also about fertility, with Violet birthing 8 children and the 3 married siblings not having any difficulties in having their babies. In the same light, Francesca wanted to be a mother so badly, and of all the siblings, she had the saddest, most mature, and real-life problems most people in the world can relate to. So, with the way Michael's gender has been changed, there's been a couple of arguments among the fans on how Bridgerton is about to eradicate Francesca's trouble with infertility and replace it with queer history. While some viewers are very happy to see LGBTQ+ representation in Bridgerton, especially with this twist of introducing Michaela rather than Michael, others, especially the book lovers, are enraged that their vision of Michael might never come to light. However, the showrunner, Jess Brownell, has made further comments on why Francesca's story would focus on her identity as a queer woman in the Regency era. According to Jess, she was able to relate to Francesca's story in the books as a queer woman herself, because Francesca was described as being different from her siblings. Although the original writer, Julia Quinn, meant it to be that she was the only introverted sibling amongst the loud ones, Jess found an even better reason for why Francesca wasn't like the rest. She said, "For a lot of us in the queer community, that sense of feeling different from a young age is a part of our stories. So I felt like there was good thematic resonance telling a queer story with Francesca. And instead of the showrunner inserting random queer characters in the series, she wanted a main character to hold the important topic so as to explore further how being queer was viewed in the Regency era." Also, when you look at it, making Francesca queer doesn't take away from her story because she had a very sad story, and Jess revealed that getting to explore a queer story for her would give her that happily ever after, like her other married siblings. She also added that Francesca's story is being developed from season 3 to have enough time to explore how she will eventually turn out to be with Michaela. And to appease fans who are sad to see Michaela introduced so early after Francesca just got married, Jess said, "I also want to say that we're still honoring what John and Francesca have as well. I know a lot of people have really connected with that relationship, and something I love about Francesca's book is it's actually a story of 2 great loves, so we do intend to honor that." Although many fans overlooked some of the signs, Francesca not being very involved in marriage discussions or getting to talk exclusively about the man she would like to marry were hints that she wasn't just looking for a man. Even Francesca herself didn't know at the time, because all they were brought up to do was follow the societal standards of marriage, and John had been the one who appealed to her sense of comfort the most. However, meeting Michaela has shown that she's also attracted to women, which will open her up to more than she had ever known. Another twist at the end of Bridgerton 3 is Eloise choosing to accompany Francesca and John to their new home alongside Michaela. And even if Eloise, whom many have suspected to be gay, ends up not being one, she's a forward-thinking character who would be one of the early witnesses to the relationship between Francesca and Michaela. So even if it might not look like it yet, Eloise is also playing a very big part in how Francesca will finally accept the passionate love she deserves from Michaela. Interestingly, in the brief appearance of Michaela, a lot has been said that's important to her queer plot with Francesca in the show. After meeting Francesca, she assumed a lot of information or lies had been passed about her. But we all know John isn't the type to make small talk, which means Francesca has yet to hear anything about her. However, she added that the truth about her is far worse. Considering the series is set in the Regency era, Michaela could also be referring to her passionate and romantic love for women, which wasn't acceptable in that era. Another issue that could arise from the change in genders is that that as soon as John passed in the books, the title of the Earl of Kilmartin passed on to Michael since John was an only child. So even more of the book lovers are worried that Michaela might not get to take over the Kilmartin estate because she's a woman. But then this is Bridgerton, where most Regency era concerns aren't historically represented in the show. Also, suppose Michaela wouldn't be able to take over the Earl of Kilmartin title as a woman. Francesca, the Countess, can continue to oversee the affairs of her late husband's estate. Despite the numerous challenges that could arise, the beauty of Francesca and Michaela's relationship is that they would have little to no disturbance in their castle as they get to live the most intense and romantic relationship that takes away all of Francesca's pain.